All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice exam series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe for all of our video updates. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A teenager learns to use a debit card by practicing in the clinic store. When he visits a gas station, he successfully pays with the same card without needing instruction. Later, he also pays at a restaurant using a different card reader. What skill is this an example of? So we're identifying skills in this first question. Now, there's a pretty clear giveaway what we're looking at overall. We have a teenager. He's using a debit card in the clinic store. And then when he goes outside of the clinic store to a gas station and to a restaurant, he is still able to do what? He's still able to pay with that debit card. So when we're able to do a skill in a different environment than which it was learned, we are generalizing. Now, even further, the teenager learned to use the debit card in the clinic store, but not only can he use it in the clinic store, he can go to the gas station, and then he can even go to the restaurant and use a different card reader. He's engaging in the same response of paying all across these different stimuli. So what does this mean, or what is this an example of? A, response differentiation. With response differentiation, the responses are going to change, right? They're going to differentiate depending on what response is chosen. Here, the responses aren't different. The teenager is paying no matter what the setting is or the card reader is, but they're able to engage in that same response across all these stimuli. So they are engaging in stimulus generalization. Shaping is not the skill. It's not our intervention. There is no indication that approximations are being used here. And DRO is a differential reinforcement of other procedure that you would use the technician. So the skill that is most represented here is stimulus generalization. You, a behavior technician, are recording frequency data for the number of carrots your client eats in a day as part of a health program. The first day, the client eats 2 carrots, followed by 12 the next, then 3 the next, then 20 the next. How would you describe this data? So we have a interpret graph question or a graph data question, depending on how comfortable you are with data. Now, this is a pretty straightforward question, so you don't have to graph it. But if you do graph it, it would take maybe 15 seconds, and the answer become very obvious, right? So you're a technician, you're taking frequency data for carrots basically eaten in a day, right? First day we have 2, which is a small amount, jumps to 12, big increase, back down to 3, big decrease, back up to 20, even bigger increase. So if we were to graph this data, we would start at 2, we'd move up to 12, we'd go all the way back down to 3, all the way up to 20. How would you describe that? Would you say there's an increasing trend? I would say there's not much of a trend at all. We went from eating almost no carrots to 10 more, to almost none, and then to 17 more. There is no clear trend as if he's eating or the client is eating more or less. What is happening is there is a lot of variability. Variability is how much each data point differs, right? Or if you want to simplify it, what's the highest data point and the lowest data point? And 20 to 3, that's extremely variable. C, data with the decreasing trend. Well, we've already ruled out trend, right? We don't know which way the behavior is moving. We need more data in order to make that determination. We do know, however, that right now there's a lot of variability with how many carrots are being eaten by this client. A student resists starting a lengthy essay. Before presenting the essay task, you give 3 short assignments. Write their name, underline a sentence, and circle a word. After these successes, the student begins the essay without protest. What is this an example of? So we're identifying an example here. we have a student who doesn't want to start a lengthy essay. So you read that, and we're trying to attack the question and gather information. Well, if our student doesn't want to engage in a difficult task, like starting a lengthy essay, and in response, we present 3 shorter tasks or easier tasks, like write name, underline sentence, circle word, and then they successfully engage in those high probability tasks, and then start the low probability task, well, that's a pretty good example of the high P, low P request sequence, the high probability request sequence. Now, when we're using the high probability request sequence, what are we building, or what are we establishing? We're establishing momentum, or more specifically, behavior momentum. We build up the behavior momentum until we get to this lengthy essay, and they begin the lengthy essay. Again, B, shaping. Shaping is going to appear everywhere. With shaping, always be looking for those approximations. Are we reinforcing approximations of behavior? This has many different behaviors involved. We're not reinforcing approximations, we're building momentum. C, positive reinforcement. It doesn't say how we follow each short assignment. We're not sure if positive reinforcement is being used. And then D, extinction. Extinction is withholding reinforcement for previously reinforced behavior. No indication extinction was used in this example. What we do know is we built behavior momentum using this modified high P, low P request sequence. You observe a client's parent using physical punishment during homework. The parent says, "Don't tell your supervisor this is just at home. I will file a complaint against you if you do. You know this violates your responsibilities. What should you do as the behavior technician?" As a technician, you're in a tough spot here, right? Now, all we know from the question is physical punishment is being used. How intense is that physical punishment? It doesn't say. And we have to respect cultures, and in some cultures, partial physical punishment, right? Light physical punishment, maybe spankings might be something that is acceptable in their culture. Now, if you are uncomfortable with this and you think that is crossing a line, must you tell your supervisor? Absolutely. If you think abuse is going on, right, we're mandated reporters, we've got to say it no matter what. If you think it might just be crossing the line of what acceptable physical punishment is, you have to report it. So when the parent says, "Don't tell your supervisor, I will file a complaint against you," it's just a risk you're going to have to take, because what are they going to complain about? You're doing your job, especially if you do believe abuse is in play, you're a mandated reporter. So given all this, what should you do as a technician? A, protect yourself in your job and don't report this, as the parent can discipline however they want. You shouldn't lose your job for reporting this, for what you believe might or what does make you uncomfortable and you might believe crosses the line, right? You can't not report this, especially if you think it crosses the line, because at that point, you're entering into mandated reporter territory. B, request that the parent use punishment less often. Explain the benefits of reinforcement. That's also not your place as a technician to make that request to the parent. That's going to be the supervisor's job. C, tell your other coworkers and ask what they would do in the situation. Your other coworkers who aren't on the case should not be involved in your cases. We shouldn't be telling, especially this kind of thing. Don't go talk to your other coworkers about it. You need to report it to your behavior analyst as soon as possible. Even though you were threatened, tell your behavior analyst this is something that's very important. It has to be taken care of immediately. You're teaching a client to zip their jacket. At first, you physically guide their hand. Over time, you switch to pointing at the zipper and then giving only a verbal prompt. What strategy are you using? So what strategy is taking place here? You teach a client to zip their jacket. You first use physical guidance. Then you point at a zipper. And then you only verbal prompt. Now, given the wording and how we're moving down the hierarchy, it seems like we're fading out our prompts. If you look at A, systematic prompt fading from most to least intrusive, that seems like what we're doing. Physical guidance, it's like a gesture to a verbal prompt. B, random prompting depending on client success. It's not random, right? This is over time. You're moving down the prompt hierarchy systematically. C, prompt fading from least to most intrusive. Least to most would be starting at that verbal and moving to physical. You're going the other way. You're going most to least. D, graduated guidance followed by a verbal prompt. Graduated guidance is when you use as much physical prompting as necessary and then you reduce it immediately. D also skips the gestural prompt. The strategy you're using here, systematic prompt fading from most to least intrusive. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you aren't already. It really helps us. I appreciate it. It helps us keep putting out videos. Check out btexamreview.com. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.